Hi again, welcome to Flip That Horse. I'm Erin Mack, the backyard trainer. In this episode I'm going to do a little de-spooking with our filly Sundance in the round pen. I think de-spooking exercises are very important, especially when you have a youngster like this. And we're going to work with a few items in the round pen and see how she does. Stay tuned. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I just have spread out a little blue tarp and I've put an umbrella next to it, and I just put a little handful of hay on there because I want to see basically what our starting point is, whether or not she's gonna be afraid of these items, and apparently she's not, because she just walks right over, steps right on the blue tarp and starts eating a bite of hay. But that's good information for me, so I know that she is fairly brave, at least when it comes to objects. She's very wary of people. So, but this is a good starting point, so I know that she is not afraid of these objects when they're just sitting there. So now I'm going to work and come in and sort of start moving them around and see what she thinks of that. So first I'm going to pick up the umbrella, I'm going to leave it open, and I'm going to ask her just to follow me around. So ask her to come over. Good girl. And for some reason it's a little bit easier for horses to follow you if you have something scary, rather than try and chase them around with it or get after them. So I'm just going to walk around. I'm going to start moving that umbrella all around, and she's looking at it, but she's still following me. She's free to squirt out at any moment, and when she does, I'll just ask her to come back. So I'm just swinging it all around and letting her get used to it as she's following me. She seems pretty okay with it, so that's a good sign. So I'm going to give her a little pat. Good girl. And if she had been afraid of it, I would have started off with it folded up and just sort of gradually got her used to it before I opened it all the way up. But she was obviously not scared of it opened, so I was able to start at that point. So now I'm going to open it and close it and let it make a little noise, and poof, open right up, basically right under her nose. And she seems pretty okay with that, so that's a really good sign. Good girl. So if I see her start to get a little nervous, I'll keep repeating it until I see her relax, and then I'll stop and give her a pat. So now I'm going to lift it up, add height. You can see there she thinks about bugging out, and she tells her feet to stay. So that's really good. I'm going to give her a pat for that. That's what I want her to do. I want her to, even in the face of something scary, to keep her feet still and not run away. So now I'm waving it over her head and over by her shoulder. And she's being very good, so I'm going to keep patting her. And I'm actually touching her and rubbing her shoulder with it. So I'm happy with that. That's good work for the umbrella. Now I'm going to work a little bit with the tarp, which makes a lot of noise. So that's really the big thing about tarps, is that loud rustling sound. So again, I'm just going to walk around, and I'm going to ask her to follow me just by saying, and she's having a look at it, but she's still going to follow me, so that's good. Had she been very afraid of it, there she squirted off a little bit, and I just call her back over. And see if I can get her to come back. Start walking around a little bit and see if she'll kind of fall in with me there. Atta girl. Give her a little pat. Reassurance. I'm just going to continue to walk around with it, so she can just kind of follow me around and get used to that noise. And I'm still her comfort zone at this point. She wants to be near me because she knows that's a relaxing place to be. So I have kind of that drawing her near me while she's still a little bit trepidatious about the tarp and the noise it's making. She's still tapping into that comfort zone of sticking near me. So that's why she chooses to follow me around, even though she's a little bit wary. But what I was saying was, if she had been very afraid of the tarp, I wouldn't have started at this point. I would have folded it up and just carried her around with me and had her follow me around, and then bit by bit I would have unfolded it until we got to this point where it was dragging on the ground. But since she was pretty good about it, I was able to start at this point, so I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to ask her to follow me and step over it. No problem. So here it's sort of folded up about a quarter of its normal size. Give her a nice pat, ask her to follow me again. Good girl, sticking right with me, walks right over it. No problem. So now I'm going to unfold it a little bit and see if she'll do the same thing with it unfolded. So she's not really too concerned about it. It's making a lot of noise. And later on I'll do an episode with advanced de-spooking. So this is just basic de-spooking. I'm going to ask her to walk across it to come to me. She just walks right across it. So clearly she's not too terribly afraid of the tarp, and that's great. So that's one example of something she's fairly good at. So we'll just walk over it one more time. Good girl. Good for her. Nice pat. Alright, so now I'm going to just saddle her up. She's still free, nothing on her head. I'm just going to work with the bouncy ball. She's had this a couple of times. I'm just bouncing it off the saddle so she can sort of get used to that feeling, and it's making kind of a weird sound. And I just go back and forth and bounce it on the ground as I go. She's done this a couple of times, and she's pretty quiet about letting me bounce it off her, so that's nice. If she had been very afraid of this, I would have started a little bit further away from her and just started bouncing it and then stop. And then bounce it a little more and stop, and gradually work my way closer and closer to her until she could tolerate it touching her, and then eventually bouncing on her. But you can see she's pretty relaxed. She's paying attention to what I'm doing, but she's staying still, so that's a good sign too. Good girl. Take a little break and give her a little pat. Alright, and now this is just a white sheet, and the purpose of this is really just to get her body used to feeling things all over. For example, I'm sure some of you have had the experience where you were riding out on the trail or something and went to take your jacket off, and your horse got a little spooked and maybe squirted out. And, so this helps with that. I can take my jacket off, or you know, carry a flag or do stuff like that. It's sort of getting her used to feeling things all over her body, and also I'm allowing it to fly over to the other side of her neck so that she's getting it in her peripheral vision on both sides, so that something like a flag or a piece of clothing waving in her peripheral vision won't bother her. And again, she can leave any time, and she's choosing to stay with me, so that's great work. Good girl.